Winter weather forecaster Stephen Boyle. Some snow into parts of New England, but the big story is the cold. By the way, parts of down east Maine over a foot. As far as the cold is concerned, negative 20 to 40 degree wind chills generally throughout most of southern New England. So wind chill advisories and warnings are out. Parts of Vermont and New Hampshire and northern New York. How about in the mountains, negative 40 to maybe as low as negative 60 degree wind chills. Again, the 50 to 60 degree below wind chills are going to be in the mountains, but even still, this type of cold, 5 to 10 minutes, you're out, you get frostbite. This cold is going to be retreating by Sunday evening, and then we're going to be watching for a storm. It's a lot of questions when it comes in terms of this storm. There's 3 pieces to it, 1, 2, and 3. The question is are these 3 pieces going to remain separate? No. Okay, because not really. 2 and 1 are going to phase, and they are going to kind of phase together. But is 3 going to remain separate? That's the key question. And also, how far south or how far north is 2 going to be? And how strong is it going to be? There's a lot of complicated questions going on. There's more questions right now than answers. Here's a Canadian. First thing that you can see, 1 is much further to the south. 2 is a little bit to the north and west, but not by much, because it's right in here to where on the Canadian it's here. Okay, and then 3 is much further to the north and west. Okay, here's the Euro. 2 is way to the north and west. Way to the north and west. But also, this whole thing in here, this is all 2. So notice the difference between the Canadian and the GFS is only minor, to where the difference between the Canadian and the Euro is pretty significant. You can see it's further to the north. So automatically, if the Euro is correct, the storm is going to be much further to the north and west. Much further to the north and west. Okay, so something to also indicate here, 1 and 2, there's already a phase. So there's already energy from 2 feeding into 1. So guess what? Because you've got that phase, the storm is already going to go, it's going to start moving in a northwesterly direction. Can't go east, it can't even go just plain old northeast. It's got to go in a north and northwesterly direction. Let's see here. In 3, because this is 3, this is we marked 2 down and then we marked 1. 3 is already starting to somewhat feed in some of its energy into 1. So this is going to be massive if the Euro is correct. You're going to be talking about major coastal flooding. You're going to be talking about heavy soaking rains. Very nasty. Okay. Now here's a GFS. Now, this, and this were, this is on Monday evening. I'm sorry, I was about to say Wednesday. Monday evening. This is on Tuesday early morning. This is 1, this is 2, this is 3. Notice 1 and 2 are phased together. You can see some of the energy feeding into it. Okay, you can see some back in here feeding into it. But 3, there's no energy. None of the energy from 3 is going into 1, so it's its own system, and notice it's stronger than 1. So this would be a stronger storm than 1 is. Okay, I don't think that this is going to work out that way, but if the GFS was right, it would be taking a track something like this. Okay, wouldn't really be going, you wouldn't be seeing a strong storm with winds and stuff. Here's a Canadian. Definitely further south and west, so it's less progressive. It takes a storm, with the GFS, it's very fast. The Canadian is slower. This is 1, this is 2, and this is 3. Now, if you were to look at this immediately, oh, you would say, oh, this is going to go up like this, but you've got a phase. Notice it's a very slight phase, but there is a phase between 1 and 2. It's not a strong one. So what this indicates is that this is going to start moving north and west. North and northwest. It is not going to be moving even northeast. It's going to start moving north and northwest. And here's 3. Notice it's much weaker on the Canadian, and it's also feeding some of its energy into 1 as well. So that's why I think generally this is going to be a pretty strong storm. There will be winds and coastal flooding problems with this. Okay. But I don't know if it's going to be as significant as what the Euro is suggesting. Notice this is 1, this is 2. Yes, you can clearly see 2 is feeding into 1, and then here's 3. And notice some of the energy from 3 is feeding right into 1. See that? This is 3 right in here. See how it's just bringing in its energy into 1. So this is going to be significant. And then at the same time, you've got all of this energy from the north coming in. So if this was right, you'd be talking about a storm that would be going right through Pennsylvania, through central New York, and we'd be talking about warm rains. Starting off as a brief period of snow, going over to a warm rain, and perhaps a little bit of flooding. Here's a surface maps. Here's the GFS. It takes the low right over Boston. Okay, we'd be snowing out into western parts of New England. Here's the Canadian. We're taking the storm right up the I-95 here. Okay, so most of your snows would be west of I-95. And then here's the Euro. Much different solution. We'd be talking about an intensifying low over parts of North Carolina, while this storm is going to probably be moving due north or slightly to the north and west. And, oh yeah, this would be major. You can see all the warm air flowing right into southern New England. Little bit of snow up into central and northern New England. That snow just moved out of southern New England at this point. So yes, there will be a little bit of a thump of snow before going over to rain. But let me tell you something, man. If this is right, we'd be talking about serious coastal flooding and winds with this. Oh yeah. Yep, this would be pretty nasty. So there's a lot of possibilities with this. So this is my chance of 2 or more inches of snow. Again, I think the track is something like this at this point, a little bit to the west. I think the track is something like this at this point. No chance of snow into these regions. And I still think it's a little too warm on Long Island, definitely southern Jersey, most definitely the Delmarva Peninsula. No snow with this. But Boston, I think Boston, New York City, Baltimore, and DC, I think you start off as some snow, coating to an inch, and then you go over to just perhaps a little bit of a mix and then rain. And that's the areas in the light blue. Areas in the darker blue, my forecast right now would be about 1 to 2 inches with again, going over to some sleet and freezing rain, and then a lot of rain. And again, so the chances of snow into the light blue areas, 5 to 25% of 2 inches or more. The blue, the darker blue would be about 25 to 50%, and then the purple is 50 to 75%. This is, in the purple, I'm forecasting about 2 inches, so I'm thinking about 2 to perhaps up to 4 inches. Maybe a little bit more, 5 inches. I could see maybe 6. okay? And that would include the Springfield area, Concord, New Hampshire, Northwest Connecticut. The blue area would be Worcester. We'd be talking the Manchester, New Hampshire area, Hartford, Northwest Jersey, okay? Allentown, I think, would be in there. While in the purple area, that would be the Poconos, okay? The Poconos, and then you have in the hot pink area, this is where you're going to be getting over 4 inches. Actually, most likely over 6. The only area I'm a little concerned about is northern Maine, but I think generally you're going to get over 4 inches. I don't know about over 6 depending on the track, because if it takes a track like this, even northern Maine. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. But overall, my concern is also in this area. And again, I could see how this has to go west. I could see how this has to go east. It's very tricky. There's a lot of questions right now. So that's why I'm going to be updating this probably tomorrow. Because like I said, this is one of those situations where you just gotta take it day by day and sort of update it as you, day by day. You know, because right now I could see it going up the I-81. And, you know, generally, all of these regions would be talking about coating to as much as 4 inches. And even these regions west, it would be hard. It's going to be hard to snow. I want you to see something on the Euro. There's not a lot of precipitation on this western edge here. Not a lot. Okay? And the reason being is that there's not a lot of cold air that we're working with. This is mainly, if we look at the upper air pattern, particularly on the Euro, notice it's what we call mainly a southern stream storm. Yes, there is energy flowing in from the northern stream, but like a good, we're talking 80% of the energy is southern stream. It's not like it's half and half or even like a quarter and 3/4. This is like, you know, almost all of the energy is from the southern stream. And that means it's a warmer storm, so that means the western part of the storm is going to be very, very limited if the Euro is correct. And even if the Canadian is right, even then you have a very narrow part where there's, you know, where there's snow. You know, so it's because the cold air is retreating, and again, you're not working with a lot of precipitation on that western edge. So that's why I'm a little concerned that we may not get 2 inches, even if the storm tracks up like this. But I do think that there will be a foot in some areas with this, but I just don't know how far east or west it goes. But like I said, I don't think it goes up the I-81, but I could see how that happens. I'm thinking generally along I-95, like this. Okay. The middle right now would be in here, but I think along the I-95 is a good bet. Could see how it does what the GFS does, but even then, we'll see. Questions, comments down below. Like I said, I'll be updating this tomorrow. And we'll see what happens. Hopefully we can start getting a better handle on this tomorrow, because we're not too far away from the storm, so we'll see. Have a good rest of your day. Stay warm, and have a good most of your Saturday, and we'll see you tomorrow. Take care.